Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today it's kind of a different video. So I actually have, several tags I needed to film, but I also wanted to give y'all some variety. So I went to Instagram and asked for everyone's booktube video recs on there. Ones I should film, ones they'd like to see, something different other than like tags, because I don't want to bombard y'all with just tag videos in between, like reading wrap-ups and stuff like that. So Oshina actually recommended what my favorite non-Christian fiction reads are. I've actually not read a whole lot of totally clean, just normal fiction books that aren't Christian. There's going to be a few like YA, but you can still enjoy them, like even like, in your 20s, 30s. Honestly, any age, it doesn't really matter. And then some that are, more just not really young adult, they're just like a fiction romance. So I hope that makes sense. And all of these are either completely clean or have some kind of mild language in it, but I'm pretty sure that they're all clean as in sexual content. So because I wouldn't have read anything that had stuff in it when I was younger. So yeah, let's get into it. I have my list, and the first one is The Upside of Falling. I actually read this almost a year ago, maybe. It's YA contemporary romance, and it's about this girl, and I think it's their junior and or senior years, and this football player, and I think like one of them, like he needs tutoring, I think potentially in English. Guys, some of these, it's been a while since I've read them, so don't hold me to it, but I think she tries to help him, and they start to have feelings and they're hanging out more, all that fun stuff. It's a pretty light read. I wouldn't say it's very heavy. It does involve like some things like divorce and stuff like that, but so yeah, it's pretty cute and it's completely clean, and I really liked it. So if you're into that and you want to read it, give it a try. The next one is If I'm Being Honest, and I think I read this almost 2 years ago, maybe even 3. I'm thinking around 2 years ago. And it's about this girl, and she lives with her mom, and again, I think she's like a senior in high school. She is a runner, and she loves to go running, and she's really popular, and she's trying to get this guy, like she has a crush on this guy. It might even be her guy best friend that's on the soccer team. And in the midst of like trying to get his attention, it kind of backfires on her, and then she kind of like befriends this guy who's like nerdy, and like he's into, I think, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and they spark up a friendship, and she sparks up a friendship with this girl. I think that is the nerdy guy's sister. And she starts hanging out with them more. She's not hanging out with like all of her super popular friends anymore. Things like that. And she ends up developing feelings for the brother. So it's pretty cute. It's good. I think there is some kissing in it, but I don't think it's anything heavy. And I'm trying to think, there might be very mild language, if even that. So it was actually really cute, and it wrapped up in a way that I really did enjoy. The next one is, I think a lot of people might have read this one, but it's The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And wow, I remember reading this like when it first came out, and I was just blown away. Like, yes, it's so sad, but also at the same time, it really is a good read. And I don't know, it just kind of puts you in the feelings, changes your perspective. It's about Hazel, and she has some form of cancer, or she's been fighting this cancer, and then she befriends this other guy that used to have cancer, and they spark up a friendship and goes into more. I just like the creativity in it and just the adventure, because that's kind of really what you go on, is an adventure with these characters. So if you don't mind something that can be sad, but if you've never read it and you're interested, I would give The Fault in Our Stars a try. The next one is The Selection, and I read this a year ago, and when I was trying to find more clean fiction reads, and I really liked this book. It's not my absolute favorite book in the world, but I enjoyed it. The thing that I didn't like about this book was the names. Like, the main girl character's name is America. I don't know, some of the names were just kind of like cringy to me, but it's about her, and it's basically like just like farther in the future story about, like, it's a class system in the society, and she's lower on the caste, and the king and queen have a son, and he needs to find a wife, and they hold basically like what's like The Bachelor, which I've never watched that, but I have the idea of what it is. And so all these girls like send in their applications, and they pick out, you know, a selection of the girls, and they go to the castle and meet Maxon, who is the prince, and he is basically dating all these girls at once, trying to figure out who is going to be his wife. And obviously he's very rich, very wealthy. They run the nation, and yeah, so it's about that. It's actually a pretty, I'm not gonna say big, but there's several books in the series. If you all have read more books in the series, with The Selection, should I read them, or should I just let it be? I kind of have a feeling of what happens. Bookstagram has kind of spoiled it a little bit for me, but it's cute, it's light, it's clean. It's actually a love triangle, so if you like that, a best friend love triangle, you might like it. I did. I mean, I enjoyed it, so there's that. And the next one is Moonglass, and it's been very long time since I've read this. And guys, I was a big reader of Sarah Dessen when I was younger. It has been so incredibly long since I've read the books, though, that I literally don't think I could sit here and tell you what they're all about. But I do remember reading Moonglass, and it's about this girl that I think goes to live with her dad, and he lives near the beach, and she lost her mother, and I think she like starts having a crush and develops a relationship with one of the lifeguards. And I remember really enjoying it. So, and I've never seen anybody talk about it. So, that sounds interesting to you. It sounds like maybe a little bit of a beachier read. I don't remember exactly if it's dead in the summer setting, but I remember enjoying it, and I loved the whole theme that goes around the title with Moonglass. And the next one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I feel like so many people might know this story. It's very, very popular. Is it turning into a TV show? I think it is. It's a trilogy. I've only read the first one. It's a YA like thriller mystery. It's about Pip, and she's in her senior year of high school, and she has a capstone project, and you have to do your capstone on just a topic, and you have to pick it and do a big capstone project on it throughout your senior year. And there was a murder a few years ago in her town, and it wasn't like super long ago, but it wasn't like fresh. It was like 1 or 2 years, I think, that had gone by, and people are like advising her against not doing her capstone project on that, because like the family that lost their son is still, you know, in town. They're actually really shunned. You wouldn't think that his family would be shunned from the town, but it's a whole thing. Pip is really fun. She's very energetic. I really love her family dynamic, and very mild language in this, nothing sexual at all that I remember. I really enjoyed it. I think I did give it 5 stars. The only little teeny tiny complaint is that there is just a lot of people to keep tabs and track of in your head. Why am I holding my hairbrush? There is a lot of people to keep track of in your brain, and it can just be ever so slightly hard to keep it all straight, but it's good. It literally changes directions 100 times, and you literally don't know what's going on. I really want to read the second and thirds. I have seen some people say that they love the second almost even more than the first, but then I've seen some people say that they hated the third one. They hated how things had turned out, so I don't know. I'm a little scared to continue on because I did love the first one so much. And then the last kind of young adult going into just normal romance is The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks. Yes, this is sad. Obviously there's death in it, but I loved this. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a Miley Cyrus girl growing up, Hannah Montana, all the things. And so when I knew that this was coming out, like in 2012, I went and saw the movie with my mom and my best friend at the time. I read the book, my mom read the book, we watched the movie. I remember bawling in the theater watching the movie. I do love the movie, but again, I haven't reread this because it is so sad, and anymore I just can't read a lot of heavy, sad books. I mean, I will, but I really have to be in the mood for it because, like I've said, I read for funsies, and I'm a highly sensitive person, so I don't want to read anything that's like too heavy because it can kind of like affect me and get me down. So love it. It's clean, and yeah, I love this story. And if you haven't ever read it, it's about this girl named Ronnie, and she's estranged from her dad. Her parents are divorced, and she's like this musical genius, but she stopped playing when her parents got divorced. She stopped playing piano, and she refuses to touch a piano because her dad is the one that taught her, and she resents her father. And one summer, her and her little brother go to stay with him for the whole summer because they basically don't have a choice, and she's mad about it because her mom's making her go stay with her dad, who she hates. And it's about that whole summer of her learning to deal with being with her father again, dealing with her little brother, and then the love interest, and there's a mystery. So yeah, you'll just have to read it. It is a very good book. Then going into like the more just fiction romance scene is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. If I remember correctly, it does insinuate like a love scene, but I don't think there was description. If anything, out of all these books, this is the one that might push the cuff of cleanliness, but I read it and I don't remember thinking it was super explicit. But again, this was like probably 2 years ago, and I wasn't really that mindful of what I was reading content wise, but I don't think it was not open door, I know for a fact, but how explicit leading up to that, I can't fully remember. So just go in with your own caution if that is something that you like to keep in mind. But it was a cute story. It was honestly kind of strange because one of the characters is named Dane, and that is my brother's name, and he is not the most lovable character, and it was weird because I'm like, okay, this guy named Dane literally is like the total opposite of my brother, and it was just kind of weird to read about him and have my brother in my mind, if that makes sense. But it's about this girl, I can't remember her name, but her sister is getting married, and the guy that her sister is marrying is Dane, and his brother or best friend is kind of like the sister's enemy, and she doesn't like him. I think his name's Ethan, and she doesn't like him, and she's mad because she has to deal with him because it's her sister's wedding, and he's the best man, and she's the maid of honor. And basically everybody, this isn't ruining anything, everybody gets sick on the day of the wedding from food poisoning except the two of them. So Ethan, the brother to the groom, and then the sister that is the maid of honor to the bride. And they won this massive honeymoon to Hawaii, and they forced them to go because, like, they don't get, you know, it's free, they won it, and they don't want the trip to go to waste. So it's about them going together, and they are under the impressions that they both hate each other, and then it's their story unfolding. It's actually so cute. Nothing super duper heavy in the book, but like I said, there might be slight language, and the sexual content might be a little too close to the limit for some people. So yeah, just keep that in mind, but otherwise it's a really cute read. So I liked it. The next one is Where the Crawdads Sing. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of that. I loved this book. I read it probably about a year ago. And I was kind of hesitant. I'd known that it was hyped up, and I kind of didn't want to read it because it was so hyped up, and I'm like, oh, this just doesn't really, I had this image in my head of what the story and book would be like, and when I actually started reading it, it was totally not at all what I thought it was going to be about. So I liked it. Thinking now, I think I gave it 5 stars at the time, but thinking back on it now and whether, you know, about certain things, I'd probably give it like a 4 now, only because I really, truthfully, I didn't love the ending at all. It left me so spooked, and I honestly was kind of like shook, and I really didn't like the ending. I get why maybe the author did the ending the way she did, but also at the same time, it just kind of gave me a strange feeling. Overall, I did enjoy the read. The movie is okay. The movie was much heavier on like the sexual scenes than what I ever like took it as in the book. In the book, there's like a few like encounters, but it's nothing heavy in my opinion. Like, I wasn't reading it and thinking, oh, I shouldn't read this. But the movie was much heavier on it, which is unfortunate. I mean, I liked the movie, but it did not compare to the book to me. So it's basically about Kaya. She lives in the marsh in North Carolina. She is very in a poor family, and basically she has to raise herself at a very young age, and all she ever knew was the marsh. And she basically raised herself and grew into this woman that was really one with nature, and it's about her story growing up and then the present day for her, which is back in like 1960s maybe, I can't remember fully, and the time period. And there was a murder, a suspected murder that happened, and they think it was her. And it's about her journey on growing up and who she is in that present time, and then battling this prejudice that has been put on her, which they're saying she's a murderer for this individual that passed away. It's very intriguing. It can be slow at first when you're getting the backstory for Kaya, but again, you really need that, and I actually enjoyed the backstory now, like that I've finished it. I wish I hadn't been so caught up in the mystery aspect, which that is a great aspect, and it literally leaves you shook at the end, but I really, thinking back on it, enjoyed the backstory of Kaya and her life and journey so much more than the actual mystery part. I enjoyed it. It's probably a 4-star for me now, not a 5 like I had initially rated it, but yeah, it's good, and if that sounds like your cup of tea, I think you'd really like it. Alright, we just have a few more. I actually had several. I want to give you guys a variety. The next one is Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. This is the only Catherine Center book that I've ever read. There was language in it. Specifically, I remember GD is mentioned 2 to 3 times, and the F word a couple of times. That's really unfortunate. I do not like that at all. But other than that, it is a clean book. There is a pretty heavy makeout session that I think could have been much less descriptive, but other than those few curse words and then the makeout session, it is a clean book. At first, I didn't think I was gonna like this. It's about a woman firefighter, and she's like at the top of her career. She's worked so hard to get there, especially as a woman in that field, and then something happens and she has to go live with her mother, who is across the country, and she's got to start at this little like small town firefighter station where the men are like, ooh, a woman firefighter is going to be working here. And then it's just that whole story unraveling. Honestly, I mean, I like the story of her being a firefighter and stuff like that, and I loved the story of how her and her love interest develop. But the story and message with her mother and the message of forgiveness was so strong. I was like crying pretty heavily finishing this book because it just really touched my heart. I want to read more Catherine Center too. Next one is The Love Audit by Anna Conwell. It's just contemporary romantic comedy, and it's totally clean. This is one of my favorite books of this year. I read it last month. I fell in love with it. I ate that book up. I read it in like 2.5 days, 3 days. It was amazing. I loved it. The main characters are so lovable. It's a workplace romance, enemies to more, and it's based in Georgia, and it has like a little bit of southern charm in it and things like that. I think you all would really love it. No language, no explicit sexual content whatsoever. It was great, and I highly recommend it. The last 3 are by Carolyn Brown, and I discovered Carolyn Brown when I was really getting into like audible like audiobooks, and her books are clean. It's never explicit that I can think of, at least with these 3. And there is usually some form of mild language, nothing like, you know, like GD or the F word that I remember. It's very, very mild. And the 3 that I've read, and they're in order of my favorite to not as much my favorite, but I'd still recommend it if you wanted just a clean romance. And the first one is The Family Journal. This was so good to me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the kids in this book, the main woman's children, are very whiny and annoying, and I wish they would have just shut up. I would have loved the story more if the kids weren't so whiny and hateful to their mother. But other than that, it's a really good story. They find a family journal, and she goes back to the house I'm pretty sure she grew up in. And then there's this guy also like tending to the farm and stuff there. If I'm correct, it's been a while since I've read it, but it was really cute. It's based in Texas. All of Carolyn's books, I think, are based in Texas, and it's really, really cute. So if that sounds interesting to you, you would probably really like this. And I think the guy love interest is really sweet. The next one is the Daydream Cabin, and I can't remember if the girl in this is a teacher or like a social worker or something like that, but she basically goes to work a job for the summer out in like this deserted area for basically like a troubled juvenile camp. And I think there are guys and girls at this camp, of course. It's like co-opted, but obviously they don't live in the same cabins. And she is one of like the mentors and guides in one of the cabins, and these girls, you know, have either come from like abusive homes, or they've, you know, stolen, or, you know, jacked a car, you know, whatever, something like that. It honestly gives me a little bit of like Holes vibes, a little bit, but just where the setting is and the fact that, you know, like they're there because they've done something that they shouldn't have. And the guy in it is the one that runs the camp, and it's just really sweet, really cute. I really like how the relationships develop between her and the girls in her cabin, and then really sweet romance between her and the guy character that is the love interest. I really enjoyed this one, and I think you all would probably really like it if you're just searching for a clean romance. Then the last one is Small Town Rumors, and it's about this girl that goes back home, and the town has this view of her of being like uppity and kind of snotty and all these things because she married like this really rich guy. Well, basically her marriage is crumbling. She comes back home to live with her rich parents because of her marriage, and she ends up like cleaning house or something like that for one of these older sisters or friends, but they're like older, like 60s, 70s, and she sparks a friendship with them, and then this like little old people group of friends. It's really cute. And then one of the guys that like delivers produce and stuff for them, that has known her most of his life, I think his name might be Jeremiah. I could be wrong on that name, but he's so sweet. His sister like Caesar, I think she works at the diner, and Caesar, and she's like telling him, oh, like she's back in town, and, you know, blah blah blah. And of course the whole town, hence the name of the book, Small Town Rumors, is coming up with all these rumors as to why she's back home and what's happening and what's going on. And it's just a really sweet romance that blossoms. A couple of the characters can be a little just too, in the sense, like, they just really rubbed me the wrong way, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, ew, I don't want to read this. But I was just like, I kind of just like rolled my eyes at some of the parts and of them, or skimmed over it and didn't pay too much attention to them. But guys, those are my non-Christian fiction romance recs. I hope you like it. I hope there's maybe a book in here, whether it's young adult or not, that you can find that you'll enjoy, maybe something new. Now, these books, I'm not going to say are like, they're not all 5 stars by any means. Like, some of these are just a 3.5, 4 star, 4.5. Love Audit 1000% is a 5 star. So many of these are like 4 stars, maybe 1 or 2 5 stars, but it's just something different, a different recommendation for you to have. I love that Oshina asked for this, and hopefully there's something that maybe she can find too that she's never heard of by an author. So guys, let me know if you've read any of these books below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'm just forewarning you now. Like I said, these are for the most part clean, relatively clean, but go in with caution and do your research if you want to check one of these books out. Everyone's threshold is different and everyone's boundary is different. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know some of your favorite just non-Christian book fiction book recs below. I'm so not used to saying that, and I keep getting it jumbled. So if I've messed it up, don't pay attention to me. Alright guys, I love you. Bye.